Do you like the elegance of foil on your projects? I know I do, and today I'm sharing two beautiful projects with you, starting with a iron-on foil, and then we're going to be delving into a little bit of transfer foiling. So I'm really looking forward to sharing these projects with you, and hopefully you're inspired to find a little bit of creative time for yourself, or maybe make a project for your mother or someone who's dear to you. All right, so I'm here in the Cricut design space. I'm going to start a new project, and I'm just going to left click on that which is up in the top right hand corner. Opens up a blank canvas. Now I'm going to start by popping a shape onto my canvas, and I'll pick a square because the EasyPress that I've got is the 9x9 inch, so which is about 22.5 centimeters. So I can either drag the square to make it the size I want, or I can type in the numbers at the top here. So I'll just put in 22.5, and that's given me a square. I will actually make this square a lighter colour just so it's easier for you to see. But this is just going to give me an idea of how big I want my sentiment to be. Now I'm going to grab my text now, and I'm going to do this in 3 different sections because I have 3 different fonts that I want to use. And this is going to say BeYoutiful. And I want the U with a capital Y and a lowercase OU. And my last text, I'll just left click on the text icon and write to full. in capitals. All right, so it doesn't really matter where everything is at the moment. I'm really just going to get all my pieces together before I create my jigsaw puzzle. Now, I want to look for a font, so I want to start with the B. So I just have the cursor flashing in there, and that'll allow me to change that particular font. I have Cricut fonts, so up here near the top I'm just going to use Cricut fonts, so that way when I share this in the design space you can recreate the exact same project. So I'm looking for some tall capital letters, and literally I just scroll down and click on them until I'm happy. So this would be nice. This is going to be a cut file. I'm going to be cutting some iron-on. That's quite a cute little BE, but it's not what I'm looking for. That one's cool too. Yeah, that's nicer. I like it with the tall and the 2 tall letters. Now for the U, I want this to be a nice scripty font. If you know exactly what font you want, and I've used this one before, you can type it up in the search bar and it'll come up that way. And that's a really nice scripty U, I thought. And the last one, try this one. Nice. Okay. So next I want to work on the sizing of my letters, well, or putting them together really. And I'm just using the arrow here to change the size of my word. The other way you can do it is up the top you can type in centimeters or inches, depending on what your design space is set to. I want that to be fairly close. Kind of centered. Next I want to add a heart image, and I could go to the shapes here. There is a heart here that I could use, but it's not the shape that I want. So I can go into images here and just search for heart, and you've only got 7,532 to choose from. And sometimes that makes it harder. Anyway, like that one. So if I click on that, that will select it. and you can see it down the bottom here, and I can add that to my canvas. And this is very similar. You can resize it and use this little turn arrow here to have it facing on a different angle. Okay, next I want to just move my square out of the road here. I'm going to highlight all of these images, letters and hearts together, come down to the bottom right here and attach them. So that means now they will move together, and when I go to cut them, they won't cut separately. The other thing I want to do, if you can see, this T here will cut around the T and the Y will cut through that as well. So I need to join them together, and it's really easy to do. Just come down to the bottom here and use the weld tool, and that just makes that will just cut that whole section without cutting through the T and the Y. It's a brilliant program. Right, the other thing I want to do is I'll just change the colours up to be similar to what I'm going to do on my project. So I want pink, but it's not very pink, is it? It's more purple than pink. You can either scroll along. It's looking more pinky. So that just changed the colour of everything all at once. And these are cut files. To check that they're a cut file, you can look up the top here. It says basic cut. Now I want to work out my size. So this is where my square comes in handy, because this is the finished size of my, well, nearly like the size of my EasyPress. So I want to do this all in one press. I'm just going to drag that. Obviously, I'm not going to need to cut this square, so I'll just highlight it by clicking on it and then hiding it, come over to the right and use that little eye icon, and then we're going to make it. All right, so this is just a basic cut, but we need to reverse it so that when we cut it and then iron it on with the EasyPress, the font will be facing the correct way. So that's really easy to do here in the design space. Just basically click on the mirror and that will automatically reverse the cut for you. Now we can continue. And I'm going to be using some foil iron-on. So I click on Browser or Materials, and I can search up the top here, and I'll just type in foil. Gives me all the options. The one I want is the foil iron-on. I will make it a favourite because I have it. So I might as well keep it near the front where I can see it. It does remind you here to make sure that the mirror is turned on, and also that the iron-on material needs to be the shiny side down when you're cutting. So let's remember that. I'm going to be using a standard mat here today, and I've just removed the release paper that protects the mat and stops dust and dirt particles from getting on there. And I've got a really beautiful iron-on foil from Cricut. It's from a set which is called the Spring Meadows Sampler, and this is the pink one. Now I have rolled it up and I've got it larger than I need at the moment, but I'm going to cut that down later and not waste any. I'm not going to just roll it out onto the actual mat. Okay, so I did actually removed that piece of foil from my standard mat and I cut it down so that I didn't waste any of those edge pieces. And I've actually relaid it on an old standard mat that I have. It isn't as tacky anymore, but it's perfect for this. It actually helps me hold it in place while I'm removing the excess foil. Now I did use the weeding tool here and I did take my time. I especially like using the tool when it comes to those center pieces of the letters as well. It just stops me accidentally pulling them away from the design. And this foil is already on the transfer sheet, so just keeps it all in place, ready to go for when we add it to our tote bag. I just love how this sentiment turned out. So we need to change what we're setting it to 295 Fahrenheit and 30 seconds, and we just have to wait for that to heat up now. So we heat it up and I just want to add a little bit of heat to the tote bag to take any moisture that might be in there away and just to flatten out the surface before I add my sentiment. Now I'm just going to line up the sentiment where I want. Try and make it center and straight. If you're not happy with your placement, you can always lift it up and try again. I think this letter here is fairly straight. I'll go by that. Now you don't need to use any Teflon sheets. And this is the 9x9, so it should actually fit this whole sentiment. I'll just lay it on top. Start the timer. And then I'm going to flip my project over and apply some heat to the back for 15 seconds. And I have to wait for this to cool before I remove the transfer layer. I'm just going to pull this off nice and slowly. How cool is that? That foil is so pretty. Alright, so we're back in design space because I want to make a matching card for my tote bag, and I do want to change up this a little bit, this sentiment. So I'm going to duplicate it, so I'll click on it to highlight it and then duplicate it, and then I can hide one of them, and then I know that that one is the size I need. I don't have to muck around with it, and then I can play with this particular image and get it just how I want for the card. I'm going to do the same thing again. I'm going to create a shape. This time I'm going to make it into a card shape, so I do need to unconstrain the proportions. So I can either click on the lock here or down here, and that will just allow me to change the shape other than a square, make it into a rectangle. But I know what it is, what size I need, so it's 10.8 by 14 centimeters. Oops, I need to save that, don't I? 14 centimeters, and that's 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. So you can see here, this isn't going to fit. Now I can send this to the back by arrange, or I can right click on it, I'll show you, and send it to the back as well. So you've got either option there. Now my sentiment, I'm literally just going to resize it so it sits on my card front fairly central. Now I am going to be doing foiling, so I'll have to see if I can make it into a foil pen. And that's how it's going to end up. It's actually only going to foil the outline of my image. Okay, now the foil I've got is the red. So I'm going to do red foil on a pink card. Whoa, it's not that bright. How cute's that? Now I do need to attach these together. So same as before, highlight them all and come down to attach. Because I do want to make this cut line this time. Right, so I'm going to save this. Okay, so let's make it. So this is telling me that I need the bold foil tip, and we're going to be doing a basic cut as well. And I won't need to mirror it because it's working directly on to the card as it is. Right, so I've got everything I need right here. I'm using a standard mat and a piece of smooth pale pink cardstock. And I've also got the foil transfer kit from Cricut, and that comes with some tapes. Now this also has 3 tips in it, so they are marked with 1 line is the fine, 2 is the medium, and 3 is the bold. And I'm going to be using the bold one today. And this just sits in the end of the foil transfer tool, and it has like a little magnet in it. So I've got the red Cricut foil transfer sheets, and there's 8 in a pack, and it also has 2 big sheets of strips as well, so you're never going to run out. I like to use a rotary cutter to cut my foil, but sharp scissors will work just as well. And just use those tape pieces to hold that foil nice and taut on the cardstock. So I've laid it on my standard mat, and you just do need to take note of where the foil starts. What I mean there is you need to make sure that when you set your machine up that it's going to start foiling not on the tape or on the other section. So I know where the foil is on my mat now. I need to go over about 1 inch and down 1 inch. All right, so now that I've moved that to give it room for the tape and where I've put the foil, we can continue. My base material is medium cardstock. I'm going to use pressure, and I'm using the bold tip, which is the 3 lines. Right, first I've got to put my foil transfer tool in. And then load my mat. And start foiling. And I've also moved my roller, my star wheels out of the road. So I'll leave this in place now. I'll just carefully remove the tape and the foil. That foil, I'll have to throw that away now. And then I need to change over to the cut blade and cut. And unload my mat. And then it was really easy to assemble my card. I could just add it to a card base that I already had made. If you prefer, you could actually create the whole card on the Cricut and use a score tool. I do like to use my heavy 110-pound card base and then pop this on top. There was a small section there where the foil lifted, and I have a red gel pen from Cricut. It's actually a sparkly one, and it's really pretty. I don't think anyone will notice that tiny mistake. But it's not bad. This is my first go with the transfer tool, and I'm really impressed with how it worked, but extremely happy with my tote bag. I just love the way that turned out, and I think this is going to make a beautiful gift for Mother's Day, or for that mother figure that you may have in your life, someone who's going to appreciate it, or perhaps for yourself. Make it and enjoy. And I hope you have the most beautiful day. Till next time, happy paper crafting. Bye.